Welcome to week 2 of Chalk Talk Podcast. Coming at you. I am your host, Ken Doolittle, and I'm joined today, as always, by my co-host and friend, resident Packers fan, Michael Burke. Week 1 NFL is in the books, and we had a great week of football all the way from Thursday, really to last night's Monday night OT thriller. Not sure how many of you stayed up, but I know your Raiders moneyline bettors did. Forgot how stressful and thought-provoking the Sunday 1 p.m. slate can be. And, you try to get a break at the 4 p.m. time, but you can't because the Niners are trying to blow the easiest teas in American history. They come through. We get all the way to Sunday night. The game goes exactly how we all wanted it to. And then the mighty Raiders get the W on Monday night against Lamar in an upset special that we all had. Woohoo! We made out like bandits this week, buddy, but our journey begins roughly 16 hours before that 1 p.m. kickoff, as we prophesized on last week's episode on this very show. As we spent the night at Mohegan Sun Casino and Resort, and we wagered 1 or 2 shekels. What say you, my friend?
Great to have the NFL back in full swing. Not seeing a bunch of scrubs play mop-up minutes in the preseason. We got the actual guys getting paid to play the game, the big bucks, doing what they do best, and that's why they get paid. But yeah, we needed to raise a couple more. We had to elevate the bankroll a little bit the night before just to make sure we had enough to cover our bets for the Sunday slate.
I certainly did that. We'll leave it at that. I got in a little hole. We had to dig ourselves out, but the strategy remains. You chase your losses, you'll catch them up.
Yeah, and you really understated the term "little hole." I would call it something a little bit different than that. I've never seen anything like what you pulled on Saturday before at a $25 minimum table. But
hey, that's gambling, man. It's 25 minimum, not maximum.
But as we discussed last week, you stuck with your guns and you dug your way out, and you finished on top for the night, which is what everybody wants to do when they leave the casino. Be up,
yeah.
Be in green.
Yeah, that's it. We were both in the green, so that's a good thing. Good night for both of us. Really what we want to hit on, kind of our first talking point of the night, just to summarize our casino experience, is things that you can do when you're gambling that are what's called positive EV moves. So EV is your expected value, right? And any moves that you can make to increase the expected value of your wagers, that's good. Any moves that you can make or lines that you can pick that will decrease your expected value, obviously that's bad. I am going to argue that chasing a loss or going back to the ATM, getting more money, or doubling your wager unit size when you're down, that's a positive EV move because you are going to win that more times than you're going to lose it. What's your thought?
I have to agree. I don't go in with as big of a bankroll as you, but I'm under the same premonition that be prepared to go back in case things start bad, because eventually the cards are going to flip from bad to good. You're not going to stay cold the entire night long, and eventually you're going to get hands where you could double down, split, and you're going to gain that money back relatively quickly.
And that's the thing, right? We talked about it last week, the longevity. The longer that you play at those tables, the more edge you get, the more of that house edge that goes away. And again, the house edge is the advantage that they have, specifically in blackjack, because the dealer only shows one card. That's the house edge. In blackjack, it's a couple percent, right? So the longer you play, the more likely you are to reduce that edge. So bring enough money. Number one, that was our rule from last week, which I didn't because I had to go back to the ATM, but I was willing to have that money. Right?
You almost did not have enough money to go back to the ATM. You had to use a little assistance from some people.
I had a little assistance with we had a new bank account with a little limit there, so no problems because we have other access. But bring enough money, right? And that kind of exemplifies that rule. And just play longer. The longer you play, the more your EV, your expected value, goes up. You play one hand, your EV could be 0. If you play 100 hands, your EV is somewhere in the positives. So that's what we like to do. And you did your work pretty quick, man. You were up a couple $100 pretty quickly there. So.
Yeah, I ended up having the first chair. I kind of snaked it from you. I was a little confused.
I wasn't going to bring it up.
But, I got dealt a bunch of 19s, 20s, a couple blackjacks early on. I got up early. Unfortunately, you took the brunt of that stretch. We had a third at the table. But I want to go back to something we stated last week about bringing positive momentum to the table and not thinking negatively. I don't think we were ever on the negative side the entire night we were there. But before we even sat down, we were at a table where it was a single guy and the dealer. And instead of breaking the mojo that he was running a good stretch of hands, he was winning. We sat back and waited until the shoe was run through before we sat down and started out completely fresh. And I felt, and we got complimented by the dealer at that for being on the positive and the good etiquette side of that. A lot of people, a lot of inexperienced gamblers going to casinos don't necessarily follow those types of rules. So I think giving that, we started that way and brought the positive side to our end, helped us out in the end. And we ended up getting some really good cards as well, which helped us out too, and took advantage of some critical plays that didn't come back to bite us more times than not.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up so we can pat ourselves on the back and tell our listeners, how strong we are at blackjack players. So when it's one player at the table playing against the dealer, it's called heads up, right? So if it's one guy, you try not to interrupt the shoe. The shoe is the sequence of cards that comes out before they reset and shuffle the deck again. So we sat out. We let that guy play the shoe out. He won a lot of hands. We didn't want to break the momentum. We entered a new shoe. Everybody leaves a winner. We're all happy. Good work by both of us that night. I'm also a winner today. I have a little online gambling story I wanted to share with you. Haven't disclosed the details of this yet.
I mean, I'm shocked that you have time to do it during work hours, but I'm excited to hear this.
Well, it's all work in one sense or another. So online casino, definitely an interesting experience, right? You try not to do too much of it because if you lose, you really feel like shit that you're just playing cards in your room on your phone versus at least going to the casino. If you lose a couple $100, you had a fun night out, right? So you don't do too much of it, but I was doing it today. You ever get a deposit bonus on one of these sportsbook apps?
Here and there, they depends on a couple things, but usually they match up to 25% depending on the promotion that they're trying to do.
Right. So here's the deal, and this is a good tip for listeners too that are gambling online. Don't take any of these deposit bonuses unless you are positive about the rules and there's no mention of something called a rollover. So if our listeners don't know what a rollover is, basically it's the amount of times that you have to wager your bonus amount before it's actually your money and you can take it out. For example, if you get a $100 deposit bonus, okay, if you deposit $100 and it has a 10 times rollover, that means you have to wager $1,000, the 100 times 10, before you can even withdraw that money and before it's even yours, right? And that would be all of your money. So it locks up all your money. So I fell victim to one of these and accepted one of these deposit bonuses totally by fluke, by accident. They applied it without me knowing, right? On an unnamed sports book. We won't name any names here. But the rollover requirement was 75x. 75 times the deposit amount was what I had to do. And I didn't know this, and this was on my NFL winnings from yesterday. So it ended up being a significant amount.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, Jesus Christ, what am I going to do? It's either I wager it or I can never take it out of the account, right? So I'm wagering like crazy all day today. End up hitting the jackpot, man. About $6,000 coming my way from this rollover. And it forced me to play that much. And I played and I won. And we got $6,000 coming my way. So we are going to wager in week 2, my friend. What say you?
That is a very, very fortunate situation on your case. That could have gone very south very quickly, but I'm glad you're on the right side of the fence on this one. And
I'm on the right side of the fortunate squeeze they put on me.
Now you could put some serious dough down. And I know looking at some of your picks, there's a chance you can make out like a bandit again in week 2. And hopefully you do, because I'll be right there rooting for you.
Yeah, man. So we rolled in week 1. We had all the right reads on this podcast, on our general conversations. We were pitching the Steelers. We were pitching the Raiders. I was pitching the Cowboys. We got a lot of these games right. All right.
Except my locks, unfortunately. I think those are the only locks. 3 that I got wrong all week were my locks that I stated to the fans.
Yeah, and, so let's go right there, right? My locks of the week: the Chargers -1, they win by 4. The Bengals +3.5. Once that game, this is why I like buying 3.5, right? Once that game goes to overtime and somebody punts, you've already won if you're +3.5. They win outright, they cover. New England -3. They had a shot to cover, but Miami earned it. If Harris doesn't fumble that ball, maybe we'll look at a different cover. Tua years never really had life, right? Bucks minus 7.5. That was tight the whole time. Green Bay, oh my God. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And then you had New England too. So Burke 0-3, Ken 2-1 to start. Not bad. If you faded Burke, you're undefeated. So
And I told you guys last week, I'm not ashamed if you faded me. So if those of you who decided to go against me, you must have had a great week.
Do you ever pivot from your preseason expectations after week one?
I'm not really a big week one proponent. Obviously, sometimes big injuries can affect the outcome of a season. But for example, with Green Bay, I'm not even sure what the heck went on Sunday afternoon in Jacksonville. It just seemed like they weren't even there. I didn't even watch the game. I'm watching the highlights, and I can't even believe what's going on. But that doesn't really affect. There's 16 more games to go. You got 17 games this year. There's 7 spots to make the playoffs, and all you got to do is get in. And it's really only one game. And credit to them, the whole NFC North is 0-1, so they're still tied for first. Can still host a playoff game. So I'm not a big proponent. I'm really not a big proponent of canceling preseason expectations unless there is a critical injury to a big time franchise player.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair. And we didn't really have a lot of injuries this week, but a lot of people tend to temper their expectations after week one. I say ignore it, for the most part. Now you can take an L and take a mulligan on some of these takes. But if you thought the Packers were going to be good, they still could be good, right? If you thought, that the Browns were going to be good, they still could be. If you thought the Bills are going to be the 1 seed, they still could be, right? So don't write this stuff off after week one, but definitely take it and learn from it. And what we should learn from it, and we'll get to this in week two, but the spreads in week one are usually tilted towards the dogs, right? And this year was weird because over 70% of underdogs covered in week one. The last time that happened was 2009. So we've gone 12 years since 70% of dogs covered these games in week one, which is kind of weird to think about. But every year, a lot of these dogs do cover. We're usually 60%, 64%, somewhere in that range of dogs covering in week one, mainly because the lines are wrong, right? And the odds makers don't really know what to do with them. So in week two, we have some lines that have adjusted. But how about that Monday night line, right? Started at Raiders plus 4.5, ended Raiders plus 3.5. You and me were both on the Raiders money line. I had to do some major selling to the group. We have a group chat going with a couple gambling buds. I had to do some selling of the Raiders, but you guys are glad you're on board.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm in a separate gambling chat with a couple of college buddies as well, and all of us were basically on the Raiders on this one. A lot of us were taking Lamar Jackson props, which was expected because he doesn't really have a lot of help on offense, so it made sense to kind of go that route too. But for the point of the for the spread and the money line, the 90% of us were all Raiders on this.
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders were the play, and I cleaned up last night. You guys did too. I had Lamar longest rush over 19.5, which, man, first play of the game, he goes for 18, and I'm like ready to kill it. But he got 25 late in the game, so that hits. I had a Raiders plus 10 and then an over 44 tease. That hit easily in the last couple minutes. And then the Raiders money line was good for another unit. Did you watch the game? Did you listen to the Peyton and Eli broadcast?
I did not listen. I actually watched the regular Monday Night Football prop podcast. I did get clips on Twitter of Peyton and Eli. I know those guys are basically comedic gold, but I wasn't really sure what was going to happen with them. I know they brought Charles Barkley into to their show.
Yeah, so. Man, they had Chaz on there. They had Russell Wilson on there. A couple of good guests. They were good. I mean, I would like them just to really talk about the game. I don't need to see Peyton put these small helmets on.
I really don't have too much. I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions on the new Monday Night Football crew. There hasn't really been a solid crew, I think, since really Tirico and Gruden.
Yeah, I mean, they can't figure it out.
But I mean, Brian Greasy, he was making some good points. Sure, he's not the most colorful guy in the world, but like there's worse people to listen to a Monday Night Football game, in my opinion. I don't give them as much crap as a lot of people do. I mean, they're not boogers.
I mean, I'm all right. Yeah, I'm all right with this Peyton and Eli thing. I'm going to give it another shot next week. I think they'll get it together. But yeah, it was entertaining week one, really from start to finish. just to check in on some futures real quick too. We had Rams on the Super Bowl at 15-1. They went down to 13-1, so it didn't change too significantly. But man, they look good on Sunday night. Maybe the Bears are that bad, but they looked good. Stafford.
No, I think the Bears, quite frankly, are misusing their personnel. I'm a believer in Justin Fields. I know what he did in college, and Andy Dalton, unfortunately, is not the answer for them. I think he's more just a filler. But I think the sooner they get to Fields and let him start driving the bus, they're going to be a lot better team. And I mean, they showed some promise, but the Rams look like an absolute monster, and Stafford and McVay look like a match made in heaven for each other, and I think they're gonna have a very, very big year.
They look good.
Back to your preseason predictions.
They look good together, so I'm all right with them. They have the third best odds now. Chase Young, it's too early to really tell him anything there. He didn't do much of anything, but too early to tell.
But Chandler Jones for the Cardinals, he came out.
Yeah, about 5 sacks, right?
5 sacks in the first game.
That's crazy. But again, he could have 5 the rest of the year, and Chase Young could get to 15. So who knows? Our boy Joshy Allen for MVP, he took a little hit based on his performance. But this is what I mean, man. The odds don't change. He's still 12-1. I think he was 11-1 before the week. He's 12-1 now. Mahomes 6-1, Stafford 8-1, Brady 9-1, Murray 9-1, and then Allen 12-1.
Again, there's 16 games to go, and one of these teams can go on a 16-game winning streak, and then whatever happened in week 1 is really not going to matter. So
that's it. And there's always some weird week 1 results, right, that we just throw out the rest of the year. Like last year, the Jags beat the Colts, and then they haven't won since, right? They've lost now 16 straight. So there's always
everybody was counting on the Houston Texans to have one of the lowest, if not the lowest, win total for the season, and they go out and just smack Jacksonville in the team.
Well, and they still could, right? They might be 1-16, 2-15, something like that.
You never know. Which is what don't take much into week 1. Just appreciate that everything's back, and then you start to get a baseline for things, and then hopefully you can profit on that down the road in the next several weeks.
That is it. So moving on now to the week 2 slate. This Thursday night game, Giants at the football team, Thursday at 8:20. I don't really want to talk about it. I don't care about that division.
I'm going to be at a wedding Thursday night, so I'm not going to be watching it anyway.
So let's do a 10-second Thursday night pick. Mine is under 41.5. What are you giving me? The Giants +3. Total's now over 40.5, actually. Money line's +152.
It's at Washington.
At the football team.
At the football team. Give me Heineke and the Washington football team to cover the spread.
-3, WFT. Daniel Jones never lost to the football team. Something to be aware of. So Burke says take the football team.
Taylor Heineke.
Burke says take the football team. I say take the under. That's the only thing we need to worry about there. The Giants did
not look good at home. And Saquon's not getting full reps yet.
Man, and we were on that last week too. We said they're a team that doesn't look like they want to win. Who knows what will happen Thursday night? I don't like those NFC East division games, but take the under. So let's get to these real games now. Something I'm noticing in week 2 slate, the line adjustments have gotten bigger. We talked a lot about that Niners game in week 1. The spread turned out to be exactly correct at 7.5, 8.5, went up to 9.5. Niners won by 8. So depending on when you got that, you either covered or didn't. If you teased it like us, you never really had to worry, so that was great. But that game probably should have been a 20-point game, right? So
the Niners. I don't know what happened in that fourth quarter, but when we referenced it in our group chat, I think you had put it in the bag already, and
I had hand shook it. I turned it off.
That game came down to the final drive. There was a chance that they could tie, and they got
all of a sudden. Jared Goff is driving at 3:45 p.m. and I'm ready to chill 4 units out there. But they won. They came away from it. And now we see some double-digit lines in week 2. Double-digit lines, especially this early in the season, they're too much for me. I can't imagine. And let's just go through the 3 of them that stand out, right? Bucks -12.5. Packers -11.5. And there's one more. The Browns are -12.5 over Houston again. I don't like any of them, man. I would take all those dogs to cover. These lines are way too high in week 2.
I'm also shocked that the Packers are that big of favorites. I'm going to talk about this possibly a lock in week 2, but the way they performed in week 1 and giving 11.5 or whatever the spread is to the Detroit Lions,
man, it's 11.5.
Division rival, that is a lot of points. A lot of points.
11.5 in week 2. So a
Yeah.
strategy that we talk about, right? Last week we did what's called a teaser, right? So the Niners and the Rams both favored by 7.5. We take them both in a parlay, but we tease them down 7 points. So you pay a little more, you get worse odds, but you just basically take each of them to win. You shave 7 off the spread. With these 3-teamers, if there's 3 teams around 10 to 12, I like to do like a super teaser, right? And that's when you take 3 teams and you take 10 points. You need at least 3 teams for this, but now you can shave 10 points off the spread, and you get similar odds to a 7.2 team teaser. So can I interest you in a Packers, Bucks, Browns 10-point teaser? And I will tell you what that pays in 1 second. Minus 143. Packers minus 1.5, Bucks minus 1.5, Browns minus 2.5. You go through the key numbers of 7 and 3 on all of these, and you get it for minus 143, which is about the odds we paid on that Niners-Rams tease last week.
Yeah, I got a little better odds because I only took it as a 6-point teaser last week, so I think I got it at -2 and -1. Both hit, so a little bit of a better payout. Who the Bucks play this week?
Bucks play the Falcons.
Yeah, the Falcons did not look good against an Eagles team. Maybe they looked a little too good, but I think the Falcons are that bad. They're replacing a lot of pieces from last year.
They didn't look good. They didn't look good, but they could beat the
the
Bucks.
The Eagles are not an elite defense by all means, but the Falcons did not look good. Yes, I would definitely be interested. Browns I thought looked great until about the end of the fourth quarter, but Patrick Mahomes doing Patrick Mahomes things. Baker kind of forcing a throw under pressure a little bit. They had a chance to take it down and possibly win the game. Yeah, I'd definitely be in. The only question mark I think is my beloved Packers here. I don't know what.
Yeah, but I mean they're going to win the game, right? They're going to win outright.
Well, I thought they were going to win pretty handily against New Orleans, and they got the wheels blown off.
Yeah, so. But I mean the Lions at home in a primetime game, I think that's a little different. So I don't like any of those favorites with the numbers they're at. I would tease them down to 10 points and maybe take them. I don't know, man. I could just see the Falcons winning that game somehow. They're plus 520. That's not a bad bet if you want to throw one out there. They're probably the biggest dog of the week because even the Lions are 440 and the Texans are 480. So, yeah, the Falcons are the biggest dog of the week at plus 520. I don't hate it. It's a division game. Bucks are on a extended rest, I know, but, Matt Ryan and the Falcons always play them pretty tight. I don't know. I don't hate it, but those double digits are not for me at all. Take all 3 of those dogs plus the points. See what happens. You probably get around 3-1 on that, honestly, maybe more.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
So let's see what that is. If you take the Texans 12.5, the Falcons 11.5, and the Lions 11.5, yeah, man, you get 6-1 on that. That's not so bad.
Yeah, I would hammer that all day long, I think.
And you could even tease them up. If you get each of them plus 20, it's even odds. Man, that's something we should look at.
I'm going to look at it pretty in detail on Friday.
Yeah, those spreads are too high. We can get them all plus 20 for literally even odds. All right, let's mark that down as something we want to do.
Yeah, lock that in.
So those spreads are too high. There's our advice, okay? Moving on, though, to some other big games of the week. Chiefs-Ravens, that one is in Baltimore. Ravens obviously blew the game last night. Chiefs, Mahomes at it again. They opened at -2. They're now -3.5. I think this might, not to spoil our surprise here, this might be one of both of our locks. But I think we're both on the Chiefs here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had seen that line at -2 as soon as it opened. I probably would have that, but I saw it at 3.5.
Well, you could have because I texted you.
Well, I know that, but I was at work doing work things, so I couldn't really.
Come on, man.
I was probably running a meeting when you texted me, so I definitely didn't see it. But, yeah, I mean.
Working on a Sunday, week 1 NFL, what are you doing? Come on.
3.5.
3.5, you still take it, right? If you're worried about a 1.5, then you shouldn't be betting the spread anyway.
And if you're worried Patrick Mahomes can't do the job, you're not a true NFL.
And then just don't bet on it, right? If you're going to – I say if you get the Chiefs anywhere under 3-4, you're taking them every time because that's just a good investment over time, I think. They're going to cover most of those. The other one with big movement is the Pats line. So they opened They're at the Jets Sunday at 1. They opened at -2.5. They're all the way up to 5.5, man. I'm still taking them. What do you think?
This one I'm not as confident on as the Chiefs. It's first road start for a rookie quarterback. I mean, I know it's the Jets, but Jets, they nearly pulled it off on Sunday.
Yeah, but Belichick loves smoking those Jets, man.
I know that, but he also doesn't have the right quarterback to do so. Quite frankly, he lived off the fruit of Tom Brady for years. Now he's got a rookie going in there who
yeah. Well, I guess we'll see this year, right?
Well, he did well in week 1.
He did well. Mm-hmm.
I on the road though, you just don't know what you're going to get, and I think I didn't pick this game either, but I might lean towards the Jets on this, covering the 5.5.
Okay, so I think we're at odds there. I'm not going to take that. I can
see this being like a 3-point game.
Yeah, I wish we got that one at 2.5. Maybe we tease the Pats down there. I don't know. That's a good teaser candidate. So good teaser candidates for everybody at home, right? You want to find something that's around 6 to 7 point lines. You want to find two favorites that you like at that 6 or 7 mark, or even 7.5, because you want to go through key numbers. So if you're teasing teams down, you want to tease them through 10, 7, and 3. And 4 is also kind of a key number as well. So if you can get somebody that's 7.5 or 8.5 down to 2.5, you've gone through 2 numbers. You've gone through 7 and you've gone through 3, which now increases your EV significantly because you've gone through 2 key numbers, right? So that's what we look at. So the Pats are a good candidate there. The Broncos at -6 would be a good candidate. Even the Cardinals, right? I don't like teasing teams through the money line, but they're 3.5-point favorites at home against the Vikings. If you just tease them 7 points, now you're getting 3.5. So not only do you tease through their side of the 3, they can now lose by 3-2 and you win that. So I never really do that, but that's another candidate for me.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Cardinals this week at -3.5. But yeah, if you can tease them to plus to getting points,
right,
and you think they're going to win outright, it's better for your case if you can find a couple games like this, parlay them together with a big tease. Yeah, you get really good odds and just better chance of winning money.
All right, so why don't we head right into our locks then? So we each have about 4 or 5, and I'm going to narrow this down to 3 by the end of it. So we have actually 2 that are the same, but I think we have different lines on them. I didn't lock any of these in yet. Did you?
I have not.
Real money? Okay.
I was. My lines are based on FanDuel.
All right, so we're going to go based on what the lines are now because they've probably changed since we even looked at this. So we both like the Chiefs, -3.5. We already talked about that one. Lamar looked kind of slow. The Chiefs, if you're getting them under 4, I just like locking that in all the time. So that's one of my locks. Are you also going that route?
Yes.
All right.
I am locking in the Chiefs to go to 0-4 on the year.
That's a double lock right there. So I don't know if you guys want to fade Burke and go with the Ravens there or not. But we are both taking the Chiefs -3.5. That's at -118 currently, so that's moving in the wrong direction for us. This could be 4 pretty quickly. My second lock of the week is going to be the Cowboys. So they're +2.5 at the moment at the Chargers. Money line is +134. Why are they dogs in this game? I'm confused. The Cowboys looked excellent against the defending champs Bucs on Thursday. They're on 10 days rest. The Chargers didn't look great. Washington could have won that game, and that's with their backup quarterback. I know you can make the argument that's the kind of game the Chargers have lost for the past 5 years, and they finally won one. They're so happy for their coach. If you saw him on the sideline after. Dallas should not be underdogs in this game. There are going to be Dallas fans there. Talk me out of Dak. Dak's better than Herbert, right? That's my pick. I'm locking it in.
I mean, through the first, Dak's clearly a better quarterback than Herbert. Dak went off against Tampa, who's supposed to have a very good defense, which I got oversold on very early in fantasy, and it cost me this week. I'll talk about that at some other point. I went 0-4 in all my fantasy matchups this week, so really doing well on locks and fantasy football. So take my advice as you will, but I mean, 2 straight road games, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. I know there's a 10-day stretch from Thursday to Sunday, but I know the Chargers just squeaked by against probably the 3rd best team in that division from what I've seen through 1 week, being the Washington football team. Yeah, I like your money line pick. I'm not picking it, but I
Yeah, I
think
mean,
it's
I'm going to
solid.
take
I
them.
think it's,
I
think
think the
it's a
line's wrong.
very solid value bet. I mean, um,
I think the line's wrong, and I think they get it done. I think Dak does not let that team go to 0-2. I don't know if this line's any different if they beat the Bucks last Thursday, but they were very close to beating the Bucks.
yeah,
And they
I think
certainly
my only concern, I know the Chargers have a very good defensive line, and the Cowboys didn't really do much in the running game. I know Zeke was non-existent in fantasy this week.
Yeah, but that was kind of expected, right? We kind of threw that one out as a dud before the game even started.
Yeah, but
I'm
I
not
do like
concerned.
I do like the Chargers defensive line, and I see why the line is what it is. But I do like your Cowboys pick.
Yeah, so the money line is plus 134. The plus 2.5 is actually plus 104. So I'm going to take them plus 2.5 right now because you're really not losing that much value. Just in case anything funky happens, we're going to take the boys plus 2.5 at plus money because I think that's good value. And then for my third lock of the week, I was between two games here. I like the Raiders. They opened at plus 6. They're at the Steelers. It's down to plus 5.5 now, so I don't love it as much. So I'm going to lock in the Rams, right? Why not? They're minus 4. They're at the Colts. The Colts still might be good, but the Rams are definitely good. And if we're getting these good teams, again, similar to the Chiefs, if you're getting the Rams at 3, 4, I don't think you're going to get that in about a month or two. I think the Rams are always going to be 5.5, 6.5,
I think
9.5 against
I
the
think
Scrubs.
they're going to be closer to that 10-point to 7-point realm.
Yeah, if they're playing Scrubs, they're going to be 9.5, 10.5, 12.5.
Yeah.
If they're playing decent teams, the Cowboys, maybe even the Cardinals in there, they're going to be 5.5, 6.5. So I love them here at minus 4. Any reason not to take them? They're on the road, but who cares?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lock in the Rams with my pick just because I want to go a couple different directions here. I mean, I should follow you. You did have the winning record last week, but I have no issues with the Rams. Just they look as advertised.
All right, so I'm taking two favorites here: Rams minus 4, minus 110; Cowboys plus 2.5 at plus 104, and then KC minus 3 at minus 118. What you got for me?
So I'm going to be taking the Chiefs at that 3.5 mark at minus 118. As discussed earlier, I am a diehard Packers fan, and I rarely bet on Packers games. But like we discussed, those double-digit lines make 0 sense at this point in the season, especially after what they showed in Week 1. I'm taking the Lions plus 11.5 to cover against Green Bay. And then I will also take –
yeah, you're looking at two here. You're looking at the Cardinals, right?
I'm stuck
minus
between the
3.5.
Cardinals
You're looking at the
minus
Eagles as a
3.5,
dog.
and then the Eagles are the dog. Who are they playing this week?
So they're home for the Niners.
Yeah, I am taking the Eagles to win outright in this game.
Oh, okay. All
as
right.
a lock.
All right.
I don't
know, man.
I liked what Jalen Hurts did on the road. I like the group of receivers. I like how the defense played. Sure, it's a bad team, but again, going against the mantra, the West teams coming to the East Coast and kind of, I think it's a 1:00 game if I'm not mistaken, for them.
Yeah. Yep.
So
All right.
I'm taking the Eagles money line. I'm not an Eagles fan. I am from Pennsylvania, but I am not an Eagles fan by any stretch of the means. But I did watch that entire game on Sunday because of the local regional broadcasts. So I got stuck instead.
Yeah,
I actually got saved a little bit instead of having to watch my beloved Packers get their teeth kicked in by the Saints. I got to enjoy the Giants be non-existent against the Broncos.
All right, so you are locking in. Burke and I are both on the Chiefs minus 3.5. I'm on the Rams minus 4, and the Cowboys plus 2.5. And then Burke also has the Lions plus 11.5 Monday night, and the Eagles money line, which was at 1.164. Now it's plus 160, so not a big difference there. I also think it's worth taking a look at the Falcons at plus 520. They certainly could win that game if you want to take the over 51.5. There's no way they win if it goes under. So, maybe even throw them together. You probably get, 8-1 odds on that. But definitely at least take a look at them. We all like the big line dogs as well. So let's keep an eye on that moving forward if we see any big lines in week 3 as well. Nice weekend of college football as well. I admittedly don't watch a whole lot, if any, college football. From what I heard from a couple friends that do, the spreads are fairly remarkably accurate in week 1. You watch a lot more college than me, so I'm going to defer to you here for kind of what you think so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of chaos in the first 2 weeks. You've got, and this is something that I'm going to be preaching for a long time. They come out with preseason rankings, something that the NFL does not do. And unfortunately, I don't agree with the preseason rankings 95% of the time. I think they should wait for 4 weeks before issuing the first set of rankings, because I think a lot of hype gets put into teams that lose a lot of starters from the year before, and maybe because they have one or two superstars coming back, they get a lot more praise than they should. And then they go out and lay a dud in week one. But so far, if you've been tuning into college football the first 2 weeks, you've seen a lot of very close games, lot of dogs covering big time, a lot of dogs winning outright. And then a lot of upsets too. And these teams are fluctuating. You've got last several years, Clemson, Ohio State have been in the college football playoff facing each other, and they each have a loss in the first 2 weeks of the season. Sure, they're against very good teams, but rarely do you see these teams losing this early. I think it goes to show that these teams are going out there, they're scheduling tough opponents, and they're willing to take a risk. And if they lose, they look like they're expecting to win out. But seeing packed stadiums again, seeing the college pageantry, all the traditions for that go along that, I'm a big fan of that. I do like that a lot more than the NFL from that point of view. But it's been a lot of fun, and I've had a very good start to the college football season. Last week I nailed my big underdog outright pick with Iowa beating Iowa State on the road. I think I got them at plus 172. Got a lot of people to join me on that one. And we all did very well and got paid off.
Awesome. Yeah. So, dogs can obviously win. I'm always a proponent of when there's two ranked teams. If there's a dog at home, I've always liked taking the home dog, getting the points in a ranked matchup, especially a primetime matchup. This week, I'm looking at the, again, limited knowledge. Looking at the Gators, man, 15.5 at home against Bama. I know they're a superpower. 15.5's a lot. You got a Heisman candidate, at least on Florida. I don't know that he's going to win it, but he's been in the conversation. You're giving me over 2 touchdowns at home, I might be taking it.
Good luck. I'm taking the Tide. They are.
Well, yeah. So that's the other end of this, right? If the Tide go out there and they win by 26 or 27, then they're just a juggernaut, right? And they're probably a juggernaut anyway.
They won't. They're not
plus 150 to win the title.
They're not.
I think that might be a good
touch. I could see this being a 17-point game. I mean, it's really close to the spread. It's almost you're going to be sweating it out to the very end, but. I just don't think Florida has the horses to go with Alabama. Alabama has looked very strong in 2 games. Sure, they played one FCS team in the second week, but they absolutely steamrolled Miami, who I thought got a lot more praise in the season than they should have. A little overranked at the start, but Alabama is right where they belong at this point in time, and until somebody beats them, they will be the kings of the college football world.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably like those Chiefs bet, right? Anytime you can bet on Alabama to win the title, you should probably just do it.
And I've
been saying this for the Chiefs too, right? They're plus 500. They're 6-1, 5-1 every year. Just take them every year to win the Super Bowl. You're probably going to win at least 2 out of 5, right? You already have 1 under your belt. Last year you could have hedged. The year before that you could have hedged. Same thing with Bama, man. They were plus 200 to win the title opening the year. Why don't you just take them every year?
It couldn't hurt. I mean, they're always going to be in contention until Nick Saban retires.
Oh, they're always around, right? They're always in the Final Four. They're always something like that. I think it's a bet you at least are alive with until the last game of the season or the last 2 games.
Correct.
So I don't hate it. You got some bold predictions here for the football playoff. 2 of them, right? Let's hear them.
Yeah. So first, so far, a lot of you probably have not followed UCLA. They came out, smacked the doors off of LSU at home. We're getting a lot of press early from a couple of big-time analysts, but haven't really done much. Chip Kelly's at the helm, and he's had a very, very solid track record in college. He's finally got his horses to run the system that he's been implementing all over the place, that run-and-go offense. They've looked good in 2 weeks. Oregon looked very good last week against Ohio State, and it would be nice to see both of those teams, either with one loss or both undefeated going into the Pac-12 championship, because then they'd guarantee themselves a playoff spot. I love the quarterback for UCLA. I think he's the perfect man for Chip Kelly's system. And I really think they could win the Pac-12 and go in at 12-1, possibly 13-0, and get into that playoff. Be the first time a Pac-12 team has done that in, I believe, since 2016 or 2017. It's been a couple years since Washington got in, which I didn't agree with at that time either. I thought Penn State should have got in over them, but that's another story.
Of course you do. Yeah, all right. I mean, I don't hate that. It could definitely could happen. Your other one's a little more bold, I think, or on the same level at least, because a lot of people love these Buckeyes, at least before last week anyway.
Yeah, and I've watched them play both games, and their defense has really underwhelmed. That's been a staple of Ohio State's teams for several years, that their guys will get after it on defense. They've struggled in 2 games, and from what I've seen around the Big Ten, Michigan looks more improved. Penn State's looking like more improved. They got some horses too. Iowa could be the team to beat in the Big Ten this year. I'm a Penn State fan, but what I've seen Iowa do in 2 weeks from an offensive and a defensive perspective, if they can move the football on offense, I don't think Ohio State could beat them. And I think even though Ohio State's got a lot of weapons on offense, eventually you got to stop somebody, and you're going to run into a team that can go toe-to-toe with you on offense, and they have a better defense when it's basically even on offense. Got to take the defense every single time. And I think Iowa's got a better defense than Ohio State. I think Penn State's got a better defense than Ohio State. I think Michigan's got a better defense than Ohio State. And I don't think Ohio State runs into Iowa in the regular season, but they do play Penn State and they do play Michigan. I could see them going to the Big Ten championship easily. I could see them running the table, but Iowa's a problem, and they look very, very good. And my prediction right now, you could probably get them at pretty good odds to win the Big Ten would be to take Iowa.
All right, so Burke says UCLA to the playoffs. See if you can find a way to wager on that. Iowa, or really anybody other than Ohio State, but preferably Iowa to win the Big Ten. See if you can get some good odds on that. See how they go the rest of the season. We'll definitely keep checking in on them.
I mean, I'm going to be rooting for Penn State the whole way. I'm a ride or die Nittany Lion fan, and I think they've got a good chance to. But from what I've seen through 2 weeks, Iowa has been the clear-cut best team in the Big Ten, no doubt about it.
All right, so we'll keep tabs on those. Lastly today, 2 minutes of baseball, getting into the playoff push. Where they got less than 10 games left for a lot of these teams. Some pretty crazy World Series odds still. You got the Dodgers as the favorites, plus 270. Astros 460. Rays 7-1. White Sox 7-1. Giants plus 750. Our beloved Sox at 32-1. Not looking great for them. But like you said last week, all you got to do is get in. Right? You never know.
Yeah, I mean it's been a dogfight since the All-Star break for this wild card. Actually, really since the beginning of August. Multiple teams. The Toronto Blue Jays are very, very hot right now. I think they just jumped the Yankees in the AL East standings, and they're closing in on Boston too. Seattle's right there. It's going to be a dogfight. There's 5 teams that are fighting for 2 spots. 5-6 teams fighting for 2 spots in the AL. NL is a little bit different story because you got either the Dodgers or the Giants. Whoever doesn't win the division, they will lock up the first wild card and host that wild card. They are just so far ahead of everybody. Cardinals are looking good late. They've got a lot of superstars on their team with Arenado and Goldschmidt. Adam Wainwright's still pitching and Yachty's still catching. They've been there for years and they've done this before. But a lot of exciting times over these next couple of weeks with the home stretch. I'm really looking forward to the playoffs, which would be a little bit. I mean, I've stayed away from baseball basically the entire year trying to bet. It's very, very difficult to do in this day and age because of the way teams use their bullpens and pull starters early. So if back in the day, you could probably determine who was going to win a game and cover a spread based on the starting pitcher. Now guys are only going 5 innings.
Yeah, it's getting harder.
Average.
Well, they offer these first 5 inning run lines, right? So you'll have Sox first 5, minus a half or -1 or something.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
way they've been playing, probably +2 or some shit like that. But
yeah,
yeah,
they've been
it's hard
struggling
to
to
bet, man.
score. But you know what? I don't think all they got to do is get in. I know you're a Sox guy. I'm a Sox guy. All you got to do is
Yeah, they
get
got to
in.
get in,
And if
right?
they
They get
find
in and
and
they get a
they
chance.
find a way to get Chris Sale in that wild card game to start, they're going to be in good shape. They can beat anybody.
So you like any of these odds here? The Dodgers, obviously, +270. Astros, 460. I don't know. Is that too low? Should we just be betting these game by game if we want to?
I would go game by game, but getting the Rays, I think at 700. They were in the World Series last year. Shortened
Yeah,
year
Rays at
though, and we
7.
weren't really sure what they were going to do on a full 162 game schedule. But they are the real deal. Their system's a little bit unique. They don't have a lot of superstars on the team, but they just finally they're built to win. They've been a problem in the AL East, and they're going to be a problem in the AL East for many years to come until those guys go out of contract and all these big name markets go after them with big money. I like the Rays at 700. Giants at 750. I felt like they've overachieved all year. I would not take them. I just think
No, really? Okay. That's the way I was going, actually.
The Dodgers are way too deep. Way too deep.
Yeah, but you look at those odds, right? And you have the top 5 teams. 3 of them are from the AL. So you have the Dodgers and the Giants and the National. If the Giants make it to the NLCS, they're going to be less than +750, right? They'll probably be 2-1, 250.
Yeah,
worth a look at 750.
depends on who they get. I mean, the Brewers are a very good team too. What are the Brewers getting right now?
I don't know. I'll have to check. They're behind those guys, so I think the next one might be.
They're probably around 1,000, I would say.
You find it courtesy of our pals at FanDuel series. Brewers 950.
Okay, almost on the money.
So they're right after the Giants, yeah. Then you get the Braves 13-1, Blue Jays 16, Yankees 21, Sox 32. So I don't know. I'm saying go with the Giants. Burke says right with the Rays. Probably don't bet any of it, honestly.
I would honestly
you're
wait.
Probably burning money.
I would wait till the playoffs and go game by game because you kind of have an idea of what these teams are going to do, and you could better gamble.
Or at least series by series, right? Bet somebody to win the series. Yeah.
Even that's tough because you get stuck into it. Like a couple years ago when the Sox won the World Series in 2018. You had that 18-inning game where they burned Eovaldi, who was supposed to throw Game 4 and Game 3 because they needed pitching. You just never know what you're going to get. I would take the playoffs game by game. I think that's how, if I decide to go that route, I would do it on a game by game. Maybe first 5. But
you can get screwed on the run line too, though, right? Because they're all 1.5 in baseball, so they could win and you could still kind of get screwed.
They're all 1.5, yeah. And then honestly, if you're really paying attention, you get a team that goes up early, like on the Dodgers. They could be like the Warriors and they could fight their way back. And like you get them really good odds and take it that way.
All right. So our advice is stay away. Rays, Giants, probably just definitely stay away. Last note for today: Shohei is -7,000 to win the AL MVP right now. He opened. I don't know if this is totally accurate, but I think he opened around 27-1, which is insane.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he didn't really do much. I mean, he showed glimpses in the past, but he had been injured. He had Tommy John surgery, I think, at one point, and he was just hitting for a stretch. But I don't think anybody could have imagined the kind of year that he's put together. And he put this playoff race, or this MVP race, away probably at the All-Star break. I don't think anybody was coming close to touching him. He's done some incredible things that we haven't seen before. He's throwing 100 miles an hour and he leads the league in home runs. Well, you had Vlad Jr. at the All-Star break. I think was pretty close to him in odds, but what's Vlad getting for MVP right now? Because he's plus 1,500. He is a sneaky crown candidate right now. He is close.
Yeah, but you got to imagine Ohtani is at -7,000. They either know something.
It's just the kind of year that Ohtani's having. Like Vlad Jr. could hit for the Triple Crown and come in second.
And he still might not win it. Yeah, I mean Ohtani's like. I keep saying this, but he's probably – it's the most interesting thing that baseball's had. Nobody does this. Nobody at all. Like Babe Ruth kind of stuff right here. And I feel like nobody's really chatting about it.
Babe Ruth was not throwing 100 miles an hour.
Well, this is better. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So he's doing even better than Babe Ruth is. We have never seen a pitcher hit, 5 home runs, let alone, Ohtani was leading the league until yesterday. Vlad just took the lead from him.
Right.
And he's winning games. So this is crazy. People should be talking about that a lot more. Lucky to you, or kudos to you, whoever took him before the season at 27-1 or whatever crazy odds he was for MVP.
That'll pay out very nicely.
You're going to take home a nice big payday.
Yep.
Hopefully we can get you some of those paydays looking at our futures. We'll be back next week to talk week 3 lines, recap a little bit on how we did in week 2 NFL. And I'm sure we'll catch you up on some other sports around the horn as well.
Yeah, I may have to do this this next episode out in Arizona. I'll be out there in Scottsdale next week, so may have to
on location.
Yeah, how about that? And they just started gambling out there too with the mobile apps and everything.
Oh,
so I'll still be hitting the books and hopefully winning money out there. I'll get to enjoy some nice golf, the desert, the dry air. Hopefully some more.
Well, the beauty of 2021, man. We can be anywhere doing these pods together. So, have a good trip. We'll talk to you next week. Everybody out there, let's go win some money.
Yes, sir. Let's go win some money.